好，大家好，Hello，猴子，然后 Hi，Louis，好奇怪，为什么好像没在动？哦有，好，今天要来念长腿叔叔，可是我准备了2个版本，我准备了英文跟中文版，我不太确定你们想听哪一个，因为我不太确定哪一个比较好睡，你知道吗？嗨，寒江秋月。你们想听英文、中文，还是英文加中文？这样子给大家选。因为有人跟我反映说，中文的不好睡。这些单元就是给大家边听边睡，所以，可是就这样子来讲的话，会不会觉得不够晚啊？毕竟是假日，是吗？今天礼拜几啊？今天礼拜几？是不是明天要上班吗？明天要上班吗？Tomorrow。呀、你们明天要上班哦，所以这可能太晚了。那我还是念英文好了，这样就没有人听得懂。哦，真的吗？好哦。Hi Miko，嗨。最近比较少看到你，应该说有一阵子都没有什么看到你，现在又看到你了。那怎么办呢？这其实也不短，我觉得念完可能，对啊，这其实不短。我们念它的第1章，中文稍微短一点，到底要不要念？那，到底要不要念英文？对，早点睡比较好。我开的时间真的太晚了，我知道。可是有些人就是差不多是时间睡，应该说差不多是时间睡的人应该很多吧。早点睡，不管。好吧，为了我们台少数的英文观众，最近都念中文了，今天就来念英文的好了。嗨，随心，我只是觉得好像我们家英文材料越来越少，所以念一下英文咯。嗨，巴拉恰恰，长腿叔叔 ，Daddy Long Legs by Jem Webster. Blue Wednesday. The first Wednesday is every month was a perfect awful day, a day to be awaited with dread, endure with courage, and forgotten with haste. 嗨，芊芊，哦，在写报告啊，那么可怜，那你还要听英文，这么可怜。但我不管，我是个没有仁慈心的直播主。Every floor must be spotless, every chair dustless, and every bed without wrinkle. 97 squirming little orphans must be scrubbed and combat and buttoned into freshly stretched军，这是什么？今天早上来睡哦，太烧了吧，太干了吧。军 hams， 我不会念这个字。 嗨车车 And all 97 reminded 不对，是 reminded of their manners and told to say yes sir, no sir, whenever a trustee spoke. It was a distress time, and poor Jerusha about being the oldest orphan, had to hear the brunt of it. Burnt 不是 burnt 查一下怎么念
Brunt
of it. But this particular first Wednesday, like its predecessors, finally dragged itself to a close. Jerusha escaped from the pantry where she had been making sandwiches for the Islam guest and turned upstairs to accomplish her regular work. Her special care was room F, where 11 little tots from 4 to 7 occupied 11 little cots set in a row. Jerusha assembled her charges, straightened their rumble for frogs. Here's a frogs. Frogs whipped their noses and started them in an orderly and willingly line towards the dining room to engage themselves for a blessed half hour with bread and milk and plum pudding. 听起来好吃。听起来好吃哦，这是什么布丁
Prune
pudding。蓝莓吗？等一下，梅子、李子 prune pudding。Then she dropped down on the window seat and learned throbbing temples against the cool glass. She had been on her feet since 5 that morning, doing everybody's bidding. Scolded and hurried by a nervous matron. Mr. Slippet, behind the scenes, did not always maintain the calm and pompous dignity with which she faced an audience of trustees and lady visitors. Jerusha gazed out across the board stretched frozen lawn beyond the tall iron paling that marked the confines of the
Asylum.
Down undulating ridges sprinkled with country estates to the spire of the village rising from the midst of bare trees. The day was ended, quite successfully so far as she knew. The trustees and the visiting committee had made their rounds and read their reports and drank their tea. 不对，是 drunk their tea. And now were hurrying home to their own cheerful firesides to forget their bothersome little charges for another month. Jerusha leaned forward, watching with curiosity and a touch of wistfulness the stream of carriages and automobiles that rolled out of the Asylum gate. In imagination, she followed first one equipage 应该是吧 equipage 汉言文
Equipage.
Then another the big houses dotted along the hillside. She pictured herself in a fur coat and a velvet hat trimmed with feathers, leaning back in the seat and nonchalantly murmuring, "Home," to the driver. But on the doorstep of her home, the picture grew blurred. Jerusha had an imagination. Mr. Slippet told her, that would get her into trouble if she didn't take care. But keen as it was, it could not carry her beyond the front porch of the houses she would enter. Poor, eager, adventurous little Jerusha. In all her 17 years, had never stepped inside an ordinary house. She could not picture the daily routine of those other human beings who carried on their lives undiscommended by orphans. Jerusha, abode, you are wanted in the office. In the office. 因为它这里有个 hyphen. It's like office. And I think you'd be better hurry up. Tommy Dillon, who had joined the choir, came singing upstairs and down the corridor. Corridor. I don't know.
Corridor.
The corridor. His chant growing louder as he approached from room F. Jerusha wrenched herself from the window and refaced the trouble of life. 长腿叔叔，大家都听过这个故事吧？我想说，我们来念一下英文版，这样看有没有比较好睡。Who wants me? She cut into Tommy's chant and with a note of sharp anxiety. Mr. Slipper's in the office, and I think she's mad. Man. Tom piously intoned. but his accent was not entirely malicious. 应该吧 malicious.
Malicious.
Malicious. Even the most hardened little orphan felt sympathy for an erring sister who was summoned to the office to face the annoying matron, and Tommy liked Jerusha, even if she did sometimes jerk him by the arm and nearly scrape his nose off. Jerusha went without comment, but with two parallel lines on her brow. What could have gone wrong? She wondered. Were the sandwich not thin enough? Were the shell in the nut cakes? Had the lady visitor seen a hole in Susie Hawthorne's stocking? Had, oh horrors, one of the cherubic little baby? Cherubic. One of the cherubic little babies in her room F sauced a trustee? The long lower hall had not been lightened, and as she came downstairs, a last trustee stood on the point of departure. In the open door that led to the 这样分开看我看不懂。Port cochere. Jerusha caught only a fleeting impression of the man. The impression consisted entirely of tallness. He was waving his arm towards an automobile waiting in a curved drive. As it sprang into motion and approached head-on for an instant, the glaring headlights threw his shadow sharply against the wall inside. The shadow pictured grotesquely elongated legs and arms that ran along the floor and up the wall of the corridor. It looked for all the world like a huge, wavering, daddy long legs. Jerusha's anxious frown gave place to quick laughter. She was by nature a sunny soul, and had always snatched the tiniest excuse to be amused. If one could derive any sort of entertainment out of the oppressive fact of a trustee, it was something unexpected to the good. She advanced to the office quite cheerful, but the tiny episode, and present a smiling face to Mr. Lippett. To her surprise, the matron was also, if not exactly smiling, at least appreciably affable. She wore an expression almost as pleasant as the one she donned sit down for visitors. 都会有回应啊，你慢慢想啊。Did you notice the gentleman who has just gone? I saw his back. He is one of our most affluential trustee. Affluential 对 affluential trustee, and has given large sums of money toward the asylum support. I'm not at liberty to mention his name. He expressly stipulated that he was to remain unknown. Jerusha's eyes widened slightly. She was not accustomed. Accustomed. 哦，原来是这样子写的啊。She was not accustomed to be summoned to the office to discuss the
eccentricity
of trustees with the matron. This gentleman has taken an interest in several of our boys. You remember Charles Benton and Henry Freeze? I don't know. They were born, sent through college by Mr. this trustee, and both have repaid with hard work and success the money that was so generously expended. Other payment the gentleman does not wish. Heretofore his philanthropies have been directed solely toward the boys. I have never been able to interest him in the slightest degree in any of the girls in the institution, no matter how deserving. He does not, I may tell you, care for girls. No, ma'am, Jerusha murmured, since some reply seemed to be expected at this point. Today, at this regular meeting, the question of your future was brought up. Mr. Slipit allowed a moment of silence to fall, then resumed in a slow, placid manner, extremely trying to her hearer's suddenly tightened nerves. Usually, as you know, the children are not kept after they are 16, but an exception was made in your case. You have finished our school at 14, and having done so well in your studies, not always, I must say, in your conduct, it was determined to let you go on in the village high school. Now you're finishing that, and of course the asylum cannot be responsible any longer for your support. As it is, you have had 2 years more than most. Mr. Slippet overlooked the fact that Jerusha had worked hard for her board during those 2 years, that the convenience of the asylum had come first in her education second, that one day, like the prison, she was kept at home to scrap. As I say, the question of your future was brought up, and your record was thoroughly discussed. Mr. Slippet brought accusing eyes to bear upon the prisoner in the dock, and the prisoner looked guilty because it seemed to be expected, not because she could remember any shrinking back black pages in her record. Of course, the usual disposition of one of your plays would be to put you in a position where you could begin to work, but you have done well in school in certain branches. It seems that your work in English has been brilliant. Miss Pritchard, who is on our visiting committee, is also on the school board. She has been talking with you with your 我看过这字，但不确定怎么念呢。Rhetoric teacher, and made a speech of your favor. She also read aloud an essay that you had written entitled Blue Wednesday. Jerusha's guilty expression this time was not assumed.
Assume.
对 assumed. It seemed to you that you show little gratitude in holding up to ridicule. Ridicule the institution that has done so much for you. Had you not managed to be funny, I doubt if you would have been forgiven. But fortunately for you, Mr. That is the gentleman who has just gone, appeared to have an immoderate sense of humor. On the strength of that impertinent paper, he has offered to send you to college. To college? Jerusha's eyes grew big. Mr. Slippin nodded. He waited to discuss the term with me. They are unusual. The gentleman, I may say, is erratic. He believes that you have originality, and he is planning to educate you to become a writer. A writer? Jerusha's mind was numbed. She could only repeat Mr. Slippet's word. That is his wish. Whether anything will come of it, the future will show. He is giving you a very liberal allowance, almost for a girl who has never had any experience in taking care of money, too liberal. but he planned the matter of detail, and I did not feel free to make any suggestions. You are to remain here through the summer, and Miss Pritchard has kindly offered to superintend
Superintend.
superintend your office. Your board and tuition will be paid directly to the college, and you will receive, in addition, during the 4 years you are there, an allowance of $35 in a month. This will enable you to enter on the same standing as the other students. The money will be sent to you by the gentleman's private secretary once a month, and in return you will write a letter of acknowledgement once a month. That is, you are not to thank him for the money. He doesn't care to have the mention, but you're to write a letter telling of the progress in your studies, in the detail of your daily life, just such a letter as you would write to your parents if they were living. Though these letters will be addressed to Mr. John Smith and will be sent in care of the secretary. The gentleman's name is not John Smith, but he preferred to remain unknown. To you, he will never be anything but John Smith. His reason is requiring the letters is that he thinks nothing so fosters facility in literary expression as letter writing. Since you have no family with whom to correspond, he desires you to write in this way. Also, he wishes to keep track of your progress. He will never answer your letter, nor in the slight particular take any notice of them. He detests letter writing and does not wish you to become a burden. If any point should ever arise where the answer would seem to be imperative, such as the event you're being expelled, which I trust will not occur, you may correspond with Mr. Squiggs, his secretary. These months, letters are absolutely obligatory on your part. They are the only payment that Mr. Smith requires, so you must be as punctual
Punctilious.
It must be as punctilious in spelling them as though it were a bill that you were paying. I hope that they will always be respectful in tone and will reflect credit on your training. You must remember that you were writing to a trustee of the John Grier home. Jerusha's eyes longingly sought the door. Her head was in a real wheel. of excitement.
Whirl
of excitement, and she wished only to escape from Mr. Lippet's platitude and think. She rose and took a tentative step backward. Mr. Lippet denied her with a gesture. It was an oratorical opportunity not to be slightened. I trust that you are properly grateful for this very rare good fortune that has befallen you. Not many girls in your position ever have such an opportunity to rise in the world. You must always remember. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I think if that's all, I must go and sew a patch of Freddie Perkins' trousers. The door closed behind her, and Mr. Lippet watched it with dropped jaw. Her peroration in mid-air.
Peroration
in mid-air. OK， 念完了。它不是太长，对，第一章不是太长，也没有非常难看懂，但是很多生字，对，要说，好像偏一个英式的拼法，很多看不懂的字。好，今天，但时间我看一下时间，我们做了多久？都38分钟，差不多。好，但大概已经睡着了。好啦，那今天就这样啦。各位晚安。其实大家不在了，好吧，大家睡着了。没关系，晚安啦。明天念什么好？不知道，我明天有再决定，可能还是中文。英文果然念得比较辛苦，可是就是好久没有练习哦，应该要练习，对不对？最近没有去上班，没有机会念英文。好，除了在家里还是会念。我猜啦，我觉得英文应该比较好睡啊。好了，拜拜，晚安，大家早点睡。